Reincarnation. Reincarnation is a fundamental principle in the workings of the universe, and all life forms reincarnate, be it atoms, molecules, cells, organs, plants, animals, and human beings. All living beings are primarily spiritual beings, meaning that they exist eternally in a spiritual body consisting of energy. All living beings have an energy body or spiritual body, which is their primary body. This spiritual body has its primary home in the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a light world of thought or consciousness, made up of energy on a whole number of different wavelengths. From time to time, and this happens according to eternal laws, we must go to the physical plane to experience contrast. The spiritual world is so light and pleasant that it cannot produce any resistance or contrast. And in order to maintain our eternal ability to perceive, we have to experience contrast. We cannot eternally just experience light and love. If we did, we would eventually lose our ability to perceive. So in order to renew our consciousness and experience a contrast to the light and love of the spiritual level, we have to come down to the physical level to refresh our ability to perceive. In other words, we have to reincarnate on a physical planet in a physical body. The process takes place like this. When we are ready to reincarnate, we will, from our position in the spiritual world, be attracted to a love-making couple whose joint energy is on wavelength with our own. Normally, physical beings cannot attain a wavelength high and fine enough to reach up to the spiritual plane, but during orgasm, that high and fine wavelength is attained, and in that way the couple can attract a spiritual being that fits their bill, so to speak. The wavelengths of the spiritual being and the love-making couple have to have enough similarity in order to be able to attract each other. But when they do, the couple attract a spiritual being that will become their next child. In order to reincarnate, the spiritual being only needs a very small amount of physical matter to get the process going. That small amount of physical matter is present in the egg and sperm cells. When the two unite, the spiritual being can enter the process and start building a new physical body. This new body will be created completely in favor of the spiritual being or incoming soul. The incoming soul has all the knowledge of body creation in its energy body, which is a field of information. It has all this information because it has done it before. It has been to the physical plane many times before, and it will create its new body completely according to its own talents, wishes, and abilities. The incoming soul will, using the genetic material put at its disposal by its parents, create a body that will fit its purpose, that is, the purpose for the life lessons it is coming down to learn this time around. We have to understand that when a child resembles its parents in talents and abilities, it is not something that it inherits directly from the parents, but something that it has practiced in former lives. It is the law of attraction that sees to it that the incoming soul is born to parents who to some extent match its own mental setup with respect to talents, morals, dispositions, abilities, level of intelligence, habits, tastes, fears and phobias, etc. When a child exhibits talents, these have not been inherited from the parents, but are a result of its own practice in former lives. This is so because there's only one way to become good at things, and that is through practice. Nobody gets good at anything unless they practice. So, when a child shows extraordinary skills, these are a result of practice from former lives. And it is the law of attraction that sees to it that the child is born to parents that more or less fit their mentality, lifestyle, beliefs, morals, etc. And the incoming soul will now, in its new little body, continue his development from where he had to interrupt it the last time he died. When we're talking about talents, thanks to Facebook, it is very interesting to see examples of this. Lots of video clips have been uploaded to Facebook of children showing extraordinary talents for playing a musical instrument or for dancing or singing, for example. These extraordinary talents cannot be explained unless we take reincarnation into account. The children are so good at those things because they have practiced them to perfection in former lives. It is so obvious, really. When we talk about reincarnation, there are two things that people often say. One is that they don't believe in it or don't want to because they don't want to come back as a rat or a snake. But that concept is old superstition, and it is not possible to go backwards in one's evolution or development. We cannot be reborn as some subhuman species. Development can only go forwards. That means that in our next incarnation we will be born as a better, wiser, more beautiful and more humane version of ourselves. This is so because for each life we live, we add to our bank account of wisdom and morality. Another objection people have about reincarnation is that it cannot be because they say, if I had lived before, then why can't I remember? To this, Martinez says that we should be happy that we cannot remember our former lives, because if we had our heads full of a lot of memories from experiences we lived in former lives, we would not be able to concentrate on this life. But not to worry, we have all our former lives with us in this incarnation, in the shape of the person we are. All our former experiences are embedded in our spiritual body, and they are the foundation for the person we are today. How moral are we? What can we find it in our hearts to do to others? How loving are we? How egoistic? How kind? How friendly? How revengeful? How humane? What do we like and don't like? What habits do we have? How clever are we? How healthy? How ill? How mentally sound? How wise? How smart? How funny? How stupid? How fearful? How naive? How calculating? This list is endless. We have to understand that the person we are today is a result of all the experiences that have shaped us in former lives. If we had not lived before, we would be an empty shell. Reincarnation is so fundamental that it is an indispensable process. It is through this process that life is blown into the physical matter. And as I said to begin with, all life forms reincarnate. And it is not so that it happens once in a while, but it happens continuously, because it is through reincarnation that we develop from primitive to more advanced and loving beings. You can read more about reincarnation in my books, Death is an Illusion and The Beginning is Near. If you would like to read the first chapter of these or any of my other books, I have made them free to download from this site. I'm Else Byskov. Thank you.